There are moments in life when you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Maybe it's a responsibility no one else can shoulder, a decision that will change everything, or simply the feeling that the fate of something, much larger than yourself, rests in your small, seemingly fragile hands. In these moments when the darkness seems impenetrable and the path ahead impossible, there's a profound truth few understand. Sometimes it's the smaller, simpler, and seemingly less prepared individuals who carry the light capable of transforming the world. This isn't just a pretty metaphor, it's a reality that pulsates in the heart of each of us, waiting to be discovered and embraced. Imagine for a moment a 3-foot-tall hobbit, living a peaceful life in the Shire, surrounded by green gardens, plentiful meals, and the simplicity of predictable days. This little being with no magical powers, no superhuman strength, no knowledge of magic or combat, suddenly finds himself facing a mission that will determine the future of all of Middle-earth. Frodo Baggins didn't choose to be a hero. Heroism chose him, and it's precisely in this reluctance, in this imperfect and vulnerable humanity, that we find the most powerful lessons about the meaning of life and our own capacity for transcendence. Welcome to a journey that will forever change how you view your challenges, your fears, and most importantly, your own potential. Today we'll walk together through the deepest teachings emerging from Frodo's saga, exploring not just the wisdom of a fictional character, but the timeless principles that govern human transformation and the discovery of the true meaning of existence. Throughout this conversation, you'll discover how to find courage when all seems lost, how to transform your apparent smallness into a transformative force, how to deal with the burdens life places on your shoulders, and, most importantly, how to recognize that within you already exist all the tools necessary for your own heroic journey. These aren't just reflections on a fantasy story. They are practical and spiritual insights you can immediately apply to your daily life, whether facing tough decisions at work, overcoming complicated relationships, dealing with painful losses, or simply seeking a deeper purpose amidst the chaos of the modern world. Prepare to discover that your personal journey has much more in common with Frodo's mission than you ever imagined. First lesson: even the smallest can alter the course of the future. This first wisdom from Frodo resonates with a fundamental truth about the nature of human influence and impact. We live in a society obsessed with grandeur, visible power, fame, and public recognition. We are constantly bombarded with the message that we need to be extraordinary, exceptional, larger than life to truly matter. But Frodo teaches us something radically different. Physical, social, or economic size does not determine a person's capacity for transformation. When you look at your own life, how many times have you felt too small, too insignificant, too unprepared to make a difference? How many times have you refrained from acting, speaking, or trying something important because you believed you didn't have the right profile, the appropriate position, or the necessary credentials? Frodo reminds us that greatness lies not in the size of the person, but in the size of their heart and the purity of their intentions. Think about the people who have most impacted your life. They probably weren't presidents, celebrities, or business magnates. They were parents, teachers, friends, neighbors, ordinary people who made extraordinary choices at crucial moments. They were people who, like Frodo, didn't see themselves as heroes, but who chose to do what was right, even when it was difficult, even when no one was watching, even when there was no guarantee of success or recognition. The practical application of this lesson in your daily life is profound and transformative. Stop waiting to have more experience, more resources, more time, more anything to start making a difference. Start where you are, with what you have, being who you are. That kind word you can offer a colleague who's going through a hard time can completely alter their day, and by extension their perspective on themselves and life. That ethical decision you make in a complicated situation at work can inspire others to act with integrity. That small act of kindness to a stranger can create a chain of positivity that spreads in ways you'll never know. Frodo teaches us that changing the world doesn't happen only through grand, spectacular gestures, but primarily through small, consistent choices made by ordinary people who decide to be extraordinary in their humanity. You don't need to carry a ring of power to change the world. You need to carry the responsibility of your own choices and the courage to act with love, even when it's difficult. Second lesson. The journey changes the traveler more than the destination. One of the deepest revelations of Frodo's saga is understanding that although his mission was to destroy the One Ring, the true transformation happened within him during the journey. The hobbit who left the Shire was not the same one who returned. The journey shaped him, matured him, broke him, and rebuilt him in ways he could never have anticipated. This wisdom transcends fantasy and touches the core of the human experience. We live obsessed with destinations. I want to get that job. I want to finish that college degree. I want to find that person. I want to buy that house. I want to achieve that status. And although goals are important, Frodo teaches us that the true value lies in the process of becoming the person capable of achieving those goals. Reflect on the most challenging moments of your life, that financial crisis that forced you to discover inner resources you didn't know you possessed, that betrayal that taught him about forgiveness and the importance of choosing wisely the people he trusts, that loss that connected him with the precious fragility of life and the urgency of loving completely while there's still time, that illness that made him rethink his priorities and discover what truly matters. These moments, however painful they were, weren't just obstacles on the path to his happiness. They were the very substance of his transformation. Frodo's journey to Mount Doom was fraught with suffering, deprivation, temptation, and fear. He could have focused solely on the hardship of the journey, the injustice of being chosen for such a burden, the longing for home. But he chose to see each challenge as an opportunity for growth, each fellow traveler as a teacher, each moment of weakness as a chance to discover a deeper strength. The practical application of this lesson revolutionizes how you view your current problems. That difficult situation at work isn't just an inconvenience, it's an opportunity to develop patience, creativity, and leadership. That complicated relationship isn't just a source of stress, it's a chance to practice communication, empathy, and setting healthy boundaries. That challenging project isn't just a source of anxiety. It's an opportunity to discover capabilities you didn't know you possessed. When you embrace the perspective that the journey is more important than the destination, each day becomes an adventure of personal growth. You stop tolerating life, waiting to arrive somewhere better, and begin to live each moment as an opportunity to become a better version of yourself. This shift in perspective not only makes life more meaningful, it makes you more resilient, wiser, and more capable of helping others on their own journeys. Third lesson. Shared burdens are lighter. One of the most powerful images in the entire saga is Sam carrying Frodo up the slopes of Mount Doom, uttering the immortal words, "I can't carry the ring for you, but I can carry you." This scene encapsulates a fundamental truth about human nature and how we face life's most impossible challenges. No one was created to walk alone. Frodo carried a burden only he could carry. The One Ring couldn't be transferred to another without disastrous consequences. But that didn't mean he needed to face the entire journey in complete isolation. He had Sam, Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and many others who each in their own way shared the weight of the mission by offering strength, wisdom, protection, and above all, companionship. How many times have you felt completely alone, facing a problem that seemed too big for your strength? How many times have you carried an emotional, financial, or spiritual weight, believing that no one else could understand or help? This tendency towards isolation is one of the most self-destructive characteristics of the modern human experience. We live in an era of unprecedented digital connection, yet paradoxically, we suffer from an epidemic of loneliness and people who feel they need to solve everything on their own. Frodo teaches us that accepting help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. Recognizing that you need others doesn't diminish your strength, it multiplies it. Allowing the right people into your journey doesn't make you dependent, it makes you stronger and more capable of offering the same support to others when they need it. The practical application of this lesson begins with a fundamental shift in how you view vulnerability. Our culture often teaches us that admitting difficulties is shameful, that asking for help is humiliating, that showing we don't have all the answers is a sign of incompetence. Frodo shows us the opposite. True courage lies in being honest about our limitations and in building a support network with people who can offer what we lack. Identify the areas of your life where you've been trying to be too strong for too long alone. Maybe it's that financial struggle you've been hiding from your family out of pride. Maybe it's that battle with anxiety or depression that you've been trying to overcome with willpower alone. Maybe it's that career decision you've been postponing because you feel lost and directionless. In each of these situations, there is someone, a friend, a mentor, a professional, a support group, who can offer perspective, resources, or simply the human presence that makes the burden more bearable. But this lesson has an equally important second dimension. Just as you need others, others need you. Sam wasn't just helping Frodo. He was living his own purpose, discovering his own strength, writing his own heroic story. When you allow others to help you, and when you offer genuine help to others, you participate in a sacred network of shared humanity that gives meaning and significance to the existence of everyone involved. Fourth lesson. The darkness is deepest before the dawn. There's a moment in Frodo's journey where everything seems lost. He is exhausted, wounded, tempted by the power of the ring, and the goal seems farther away than ever. The darkness of Mordor is oppressive, the dangers are constant, and hope seems a distant memory. It is in this moment of greatest despair that Frodo's true strength is revealed, not a physical or magical strength, but the spiritual strength of continuing to put one foot in front of the other, even when every fiber of his being screams to give up. This lesson resonates deeply with anyone who has faced truly difficult times in life. We've all had periods where the situation seemed hopeless, where solutions seemed impossible, where the pain was so intense that we questioned our ability to continue. In these moments, it's tempting to believe the darkness is permanent, that things will never get better, that it's not worth continuing the fight. Frodo teaches us that these moments of deepest darkness are not the end of the story. They are often the prelude to the greatest transformations. The darkest night precedes the sunrise. The harshest winter precedes the most vibrant spring. The most intense pain often precedes periods of significant growth and renewal. This isn't Pollyanna-ish philosophy that denies the reality of suffering or minimizes the intensity of pain. It's a profound acknowledgement that life is cyclical, that difficult moments are temporary even when they feel permanent, and that our capacity to endure is far greater than we imagine when we're in the midst of the storm. The practical application of this lesson begins with cultivating a long-term perspective during times of crisis. When you're going through a particularly rough patch, it's easy to get consumed by the intensity of the present moment and lose sight of the fact that this phase, like all others, is transient. Frodo teaches us the importance of keeping a small flame of hope burning even in the darkest moments, not because the current situation is easy, but because change is the only constant in life. Develop practices that help you maintain perspective during storms. It could be meditation, connecting you with a sense of peace that transcends external circumstances. It could be journaling, allowing you to process difficult emotions and identify patterns of growth over time. It could be exercise, releasing endorphins and demonstrating your ability to overcome discomfort. It could be time in nature, connecting you with the larger cycles of death and rebirth that govern all life. Remember previous times in your life, when you thought you couldn't overcome a difficult situation, but you did. That breakup that felt like the end of the world, but made way for a truer love. That job loss that seemed like a tragedy, but forced you to discover a career more aligned with your values. That loss that felt unbearable, but taught you about the precious fragility of life and the importance of loving fully. Frodo teaches us that true strength isn't in never falling, it's in always getting back up. It's not in never feeling fear, it's in acting courageously despite fear. It's not in never doubting, it's in choosing hope even when doubt is rational. Fifth lesson. Mercy is the strength that can alter fate. One of the most significant decisions in the entire saga occurs when Frodo, early in his journey, encounters Gollum and chooses to spare him out of mercy, rather than kill him for convenience or safety. This decision questionable at the time, proves crucial to the mission's success, as it's Gollum who inadvertently destroys the ring by falling into the fires of Mount Doom. This lesson transcends the narrative and touches on something fundamental about the nature of compassion and how acts of mercy can have consequences that extend far beyond what we can foresee. In a world that often celebrates toughness, street smarts, and the ability to do what's necessary without emotional considerations, Frodo reminds us that mercy isn't weakness, it's a higher form of wisdom. Mercy, as Frodo demonstrates it, isn't naivete or permissiveness. It's not ignoring destructive behaviors or allowing others to mistreat us. It's the capacity to see shared humanity even in people who have made grave mistakes, to recognize that we are all capable of both great kindness and great failings, and to choose to respond to evil with something better than evil itself. The practical application of this lesson challenges you to examine how you respond to people who have hurt, disappointed, or betrayed you. It's easy to be kind to people who are kind to us. The true test of character comes in how we treat those who don't deserve our kindness by conventional standards of justice. This doesn't mean you should be passive in the face of injustice or allow others to continue to hurt you. It means you can set firm boundaries and protect yourself appropriately without allowing anger, resentment, or a desire for revenge to corrode your own soul. It means you can choose to respond to darkness with light, not because the other person deserves your light, but because you deserve to live as a person who brings light into the world. Think of someone in your life who has deeply hurt you. Perhaps an ex-partner who betrayed you, a colleague who sabotaged you, a family member who repeatedly disappointed you. The natural response is to nurture anger, plot revenge, or simply write the person off completely. Frodo challenges us to consider a third option, maintaining healthy boundaries to protect yourself, but choosing compassion over bitterness. This choice isn't about the other person, it's about you. When you carry anger and resentment, you are the one who suffers. When you choose mercy, you free yourself from the emotional weight that resentment creates. You open space in your heart for more positive and meaningful experiences. Furthermore, acts of mercy have a mysterious way of creating positive change that extends far beyond the immediate situation. Just as Frodo's mercy towards Gollum proved essential to the success of his mission, your choice to respond with compassion instead of vengeance can create ripples of positivity that transform situations in ways you could never predict. Sixth lesson: true home is what you carry inside yourself. One of Frodo's most poignant realizations is that, after all he's been through, he can no longer find peace in the Shire. The place he fought to save, the home that fueled his journey, can no longer contain who he has become. This isn't a failure of the journey. It's a natural consequence of profound growth. Frodo discovered that true home isn't a geographical location, but a state of being you cultivate and carry within you. This lesson resonates deeply with anyone who has undergone significant transformations. Maybe you grew up in a small town and found you couldn't live there anymore after experiencing the wider world. Maybe you overcame addictions or self-destructive patterns and realized your old environments and relationships no longer serve who you've become. Maybe you went through a profound spiritual experience and discovered your old ways of life. No longer makes sense. These moments can be profoundly lonely and disorienting. It's tempting to feel like something is wrong, that you should be grateful to be back to normal, that you should be able to settle for the things that used to satisfy you. Frodo teaches us that this restlessness isn't a problem to be solved. It's a sign that you've outgrown previous limitations and now need to create a new home suited to who you've become. True home, as Frodo discovers, isn't about getting external circumstances to perfectly match your desires. It's about cultivating an inner sense of peace, purpose, and belonging that doesn't depend on external validation or perfect conditions. It's about becoming someone who can find meaning and contentment even in imperfect situations, who can create connection and community wherever they are, who can contribute positively to any environment they find themselves in. The practical application of this lesson begins with recognizing that the external search for satisfaction is endless and ultimately unsatisfying. That perfect city, that ideal job, that right person, that comfortable financial situation, all of these things can contribute to your well-being, but none of them can provide the deep sense of home you seek. That sense must be cultivated internally through developing qualities like self-compassion, clear purpose, meaningful relationships, and a connection to something larger than yourself. Start cultivating practices that create an inner sense of home. It could be a morning routine that connects you with your values and intentions for the day. It could be a spiritual practice that connects you with a sense of transcendence. It could be creating rituals that mark important transitions and create continuity amidst change. It could be developing creative skills that allow for authentic self-expression regardless of external circumstances. Develop, too, the ability to create home wherever you are. This means learning to find beauty and meaning in imperfect situations, to create genuine connections with people very different from you, to contribute positively to environments even when they aren't ideal. When you stop expecting the external world to provide all the conditions for your happiness and start bringing them with you wherever you go, you become truly free. 7th lesson. Some wounds never fully heal, but they can teach us compassion. Frodo carries physical and emotional scars from his journey to the end of his days in Middle-earth. The Morgul blade wound, the psychological weight of bearing the One Ring, the memories of the horrors he witnessed, none of this simply vanishes when the quest is over. This reality might seem bleak, but Frodo teaches us something profound about the nature of healing and how we can transform our suffering into a source of wisdom and compassion. This lesson directly confronts one of our culture's most damaging fantasies: the idea that we must get over all trauma, pain, or hardship completely to be considered successful or healed people. The truth is, some experiences mark us permanently, and that's not necessarily a failing on our part or a sign that we haven't done the necessary emotional work. Some wounds become part of who we are, and the wisdom lies in learning to constructively integrate them into our identity. Frodo shows us that carrying scars doesn't make us broken, it makes us human. His wounds connect him with others who suffer, create depth in his character, and generate a kind of wisdom that can only come from the direct experience of pain. He doesn't become bitter or hopeless because of his suffering. Instead, he develops a profound compassion for others, carrying heavy burdens. The practical application of this lesson begins with a radical shift in how you relate to your own wounds and traumas. Stop judging yourself for not having gotten over difficult past experiences completely. Stop feeling ashamed that you still feel echoes of old pains. Stop believing that you need to be fully healed to be valid, worthwhile, or worthy of love. Instead, begin to see your scars as sources of wisdom and compassion. That experience of abandonment in childhood might have created wounds that still ache sometimes, but it might also have developed in you a special sensitivity to people who feel rejected. That betrayal in a relationship might have left marks on your ability to trust, but it might also have sharpened your intuition and your ability to recognize healthy relationships. That struggle with depression or anxiety might be something you deal with ongoingly, but it might also have cultivated in you a deep empathy for others facing similar battles. Your wounds can become your source of service to the world. When you stop trying to hide or deny your struggles and start sharing them in appropriate and constructive ways, you create space for others to do the same. Your genuine vulnerability might be exactly what someone needs to see to feel less alone in their own battles. 8th lesson. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the action in spite of it. Frodo constantly feels fear throughout his journey. Fear of the Nazgul, fear of Gollum, fear of failing his mission, fear of succumbing to the ring's power, fear of never seeing the Shire again. His heroism doesn't lie in the absence of these fears. It lies in his willingness to keep acting in accordance with his values even when fear is overwhelming. This lesson completely redefines what it means to be courageous. Our culture often portrays courage as an almost superhuman quality possessed by special people who simply don't feel fear. This portrayal is not only unrealistic, it's harmful because it causes ordinary people who do feel fear to believe they're incapable of courageous acts. Frodo shows us that true courage is a profoundly human quality anyone can develop. The ability to act in accordance with your values, even when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to run away. Fear, as Frodo discovers, isn't necessarily a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's often a sign that you're doing something important. The things most worthwhile in life, deep relationships, meaningful creative projects, career changes aligned with your values, advocating for important causes, almost always involve some level of risk and therefore some level of fear. The practical application of this lesson begins with a fundamental shift in your relationship with fear. Instead of seeing fear as a signal to stop, start seeing it as useful information. Fear can alert you to real risks that need to be managed. It can signal that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, which is necessary for growth. It can indicate that something is important to you. Otherwise, it wouldn't generate such a strong emotional response. Develop the ability to feel fear fully without letting it paralyze your actions. This doesn't mean acting recklessly or ignoring legitimate risks. It means learning to distinguish between rational fears that should inform your decisions and irrational fears that should be acknowledged but not obeyed. Practice taking small, courageous actions regularly. It doesn't have to be something dramatic like Frodo's journey. It could be having a difficult conversation you've been putting off, applying for a job that seems beyond your reach, sharing a creative idea you've been keeping secret, or simply saying no to something that isn't aligned with your values even when it's easier to agree. Every time you act in accordance with your values despite fear, you develop the muscle of courage. Like any skill, courage strengthens with practice. The more you demonstrate to yourself that you can act despite fear, the more confidence you develop in your ability to face future challenges. Remember, too, that courage isn't a quality you either possess or don't possess. It's a choice you make moment to moment. Frodo didn't wake up one day as a courageous person and remain that way forever. He chose courage repeatedly, one decision at a time, one step at a time, even when the next courageous choice seemed impossible. Ninth lesson. True power lies in knowing when not to use it. One of the most powerful demonstrations of Frodo's wisdom comes from his relationship with the One Ring. Unlike others who encounter power and are corrupted by it, Frodo maintains a constant awareness of the dangers of power and struggles to use it only when absolutely necessary. More importantly, he's willing to destroy the ring, to relinquish power, for the greater good. This lesson teaches us that true spiritual maturity manifests not in the ability to wield power, but in the wisdom of knowing when not to wield it. We live in a society obsessed with the acquisition of power in its many forms: financial power, political power, social power, professional power. The dominant cultural narrative tells us that success is measured by our ability to influence, control and dominate situations and people. Frodo presents us with a radically different perspective. True power lies in self-regulation, in the ability to choose restraint when you could choose domination. This wisdom applies to countless everyday situations. How many times have you had the opportunity to use personal information to gain an advantage over someone but chose not to? How many times have you had the power to humiliate someone who hurt you but chose silence or compassion? How many times have you had the ability to manipulate a situation to your benefit but chose honesty, even knowing it would be more difficult? The real test of character doesn't come when you have no power. It comes when you have power and choose how to use it. Frodo teaches us that truly wise people use their power to uplift others, protect the vulnerable, and create conditions for more people to thrive. They resist the temptation to use their power to satisfy the ego, control others, or accumulate even more power. Develop the practice of pausing before wielding any form of power. Ask yourself, am I doing this to serve a greater good or to satisfy my own ego? Am I using my influence to build up or to tear down? 10th lesson. Hope is a choice we make, not a feeling we wait for. In Frodo's darkest moments, when all seems lost and success appears impossible, he continues to put one foot in front of the other. This persistence doesn't stem from naive optimism or a certainty that everything will work out. It comes from a conscious decision to keep hoping and acting as if hope makes sense, even when all the evidence suggests otherwise. This lesson confronts one of the most destructive confusions about the nature of hope. Many people wait to feel hope before they act hopefully. They wait for circumstances to improve before they begin to believe they can improve. They wait for external evidence to confirm that it's worth trying before they keep trying. Frodo teaches us that this is backward. Hope is a choice that precedes the feeling, a decision that creates possibilities instead of an emotion that waits for possibilities. True hope isn't the naive belief that everything will always work out. It's the mature decision to act constructively, even when you have no guarantees about the outcome. It's the choice to plant seeds even when you're not sure there will be a harvest. It's the willingness to invest in relationships, projects, and dreams, even knowing they may not materialize exactly as you envision. The practical application of this lesson revolutionizes how you approach difficult periods. When you're going through a financial crisis, hope isn't pretending the problem isn't real or passively waiting for a magic solution. Hope is taking one small constructive action every day, saving a little, looking for opportunities, developing skills, even when progress seems imperceptible. When you're dealing with a difficult relationship, hope isn't ignoring the problems or assuming the other person will effortlessly change. Hope is continuing to communicate honestly and compassionately, continuing to work on yourself, continuing to create opportunities for genuine connection even when recent interactions have been painful. When you're pursuing a goal that seems distant or impossible, hope isn't blindly believing you'll get exactly what you want. Hope is taking the next small step, learning from setbacks, adjusting your approach when necessary, but never completely, stopping moving in the direction of your values and aspirations. Develop daily rituals that cultivate active hope. It could be starting each day by identifying one small thing you can do to improve your situation. It could be keeping a progress journal that helps you recognize movement, even when it's gradual. It could be regularly connecting with people who share your values and who can offer perspective during tough times. Remember that hope is contagious. When you choose to act hopefully even in difficult circumstances, you not only increase your own chances of success, you create an example that can inspire others to make similar choices. Your decision to keep trying, growing, and contributing may be exactly what someone needs to see to renew their own hope. 11th lesson. True wealth lies in what you give, not what you accumulate. Frodo begins his journey as a relatively comfortable hobbit in the Shire with a pleasant home, plentiful food, and a secure life. Throughout his adventure, he gives all of this up, comfort, security, even his own peace of mind, to serve a larger purpose. In the end, he doesn't return richer in material possessions, but infinitely richer in wisdom, experience, and the deep satisfaction of having contributed to something meaningful. This lesson directly challenges the prevailing values of our materialistic society. We are constantly bombarded with messages that happiness and success are measured by the ability to accumulate more money, more possessions, more status, more experiences, more recognition. Frodo shows us a radically different definition of wealth, the ability to contribute meaningfully to the well-being of others and to causes larger than ourselves. This doesn't mean that material resources aren't important or that you should live in voluntary poverty. It means recognizing that lasting satisfaction comes not from how much you can acquire for yourself, but from how much you can contribute to others. True abundance isn't having more than you need, but having enough for your genuine needs and still having something valuable to offer the world. The practical application of this lesson begins with an honest reassessment of your personal definitions of success and wealth. How much of your energy is focused on accumulating versus contributing? How much of your financial planning is based on fear of scarcity versus confidence that you can create enough value for your needs and still have something to give? Begin experimenting with ways of giving that align with your resources and values. This could be giving financially to important causes, even if it's a small amount. It could be volunteering your time to organizations doing work you admire. It could be using your professional skills to help small businesses or nonprofits. It could simply be giving more genuine attention, encouragement, and emotional support to people in your life. Notice how you feel when you give versus when you receive. Most people find that moments of genuine generosity create a feeling of satisfaction and connection that's longer lasting than the fleeting pleasure of acquiring something new. This isn't just a philosophical observation, it's a psychological reality documented by research showing that acts of generosity activate pleasure centers in the brain and contribute to long-term emotional well-being. Develop the ability to give without expecting anything in return. Frodo didn't carry the ring to Mount Doom expecting a reward or recognition. He did it because it was the right thing to do. When you give with specific expectations about how you'll be repaid, you turn an act of generosity into a business transaction. True generosity is unconditional. Finally, recognize that you always have something valuable to give, regardless of your current material circumstances. It could be your unique perspective, your ability to listen, your creative skills, your experience, overcoming specific challenges, or simply your genuine and attentive presence. Real wealth isn't about having everything, it's about recognizing that you already have something precious to offer. 12th lesson, conscious sacrifice transforms both the giver and the receiver. Frodo's journey is essentially a story of conscious sacrifice. He gives up his comfortable life, his safety, his peace of mind, and ultimately his ability to live a normal life in Middle-earth, all to destroy a source of evil that threatens everyone. This sacrifice isn't made in a moment of emotional impulse, but through a series of conscious and deliberate choices over months of arduous journey. What makes Frodo's sacrifice transformative, for both him and all the beneficiaries, is that it's freely given, with full awareness of the consequences, and with genuine love for the people and places he's protecting. It's not a forced sacrifice or one made with resentment. It's a choice rooted in deep values about what truly matters in life. This lesson is particularly relevant in a time when dominant culture promotes self-indulgence and self-preservation above all else. We're encouraged to prioritize our own needs, wants, and comfort as the ultimate priority. And any suggestion that we could find meaning through sacrifice for others is seen as antiquated or even harmful. Frodo reminds us that there's a profound form of fulfillment that can only come through consciously offering ourselves to something greater. The practical application of this lesson doesn't mean you should seek suffering or sacrifice yourself in a self-destructive way. It means recognizing that genuine moments of growth and meaning often require letting go of something smaller to gain something larger. It might mean sacrificing leisure time to develop an important skill. It might mean giving up financial opportunities to be present during a family crisis. It might mean sacrificing popularity to defend your values in a difficult situation. Conscious sacrifice is distinct from martyrdom in several important ways. First, it's freely chosen rather than imposed by others or by circumstances. Second, it's done with love and clear purpose rather than resentment or obligation. Third, it serves a genuine good rather than satisfying neurotic needs for attention or control. Fourth, it preserves the dignity of both the giver and the receiver. Identify areas of your life where you can make conscious sacrifices that align your actions with your deepest values. Maybe it's giving up a few hours of entertainment to dedicate time to a creative project that truly matters to you. Maybe it's sacrificing some financial comfort so you can work on something more meaningful. Maybe it's letting go of the need to always be right to preserve important relationships. Practice also receiving sacrifices from others with genuine gratitude and with a commitment to honoring what's been given. When someone gives up something for you, time, resources, opportunities, recognize the weight of what has been offered and allow it to motivate you to do something constructive with what you've received. Remember that conscious sacrifice is a choice of love, not obligation. When you give something out of genuine love, love for a person, a cause, a value, the very act of giving transforms you. You discover capabilities you didn't know you possessed, develop strength you didn't know you had, and connect with a sense of purpose that transcends personal concerns. Conclusion: the invitation to your own heroic journey. Here we are reaching the end of our journey through the wisdom lessons that emerge from the saga of Frodo Baggins. But like any genuine conclusion, this ending is also an invitation to a new beginning. The words we've shared here aren't just reflections on a fictional character. They're practical tools and transformative perspectives that you can start applying immediately in your own life. The profound and sometimes uncomfortable truth is that you are already on your own heroic journey. You may not have a magic ring to destroy or a fantastical kingdom to save, but you have something equally important: your own life to live with purpose, courage, and love. You have relationships to nurture, challenges to overcome, unique contributions to make to the world, and a fuller version of yourself waiting to emerge through your courageous choices. Each of the lessons we've explored today represents an opportunity for transformation that's available to you right now. You don't have to wait for an epic crisis or a dramatic calling to begin living with Frodo's wisdom. You can start today right now with the next decision you make. When you choose to act in spite of fear, you'll be honoring the lesson about true courage. When you decide to share a burden instead of carrying it alone, you'll be applying the wisdom about companionship. When you choose to respond with compassion instead of revenge in the face of someone who has hurt you, you'll be practicing the transformative power of mercy. When you choose to contribute instead of just accumulate, you will be living the lesson of true wealth. The world needs more people who live like Frodo. Not perfect people or fearless ones, but people who consistently choose love over fear, hope over despair, generosity over selfishness, courage over comfort. The world needs people who recognize that even the smallest among us can alter the course of the future through conscious choices and consistent actions based on deep values. Your journey won't be identical to Frodo's, but it will be equally significant. Your challenges may not involve fantastical creatures or magical powers, but they will involve something equally important: the opportunity to become the person you were created to be and to contribute your unique gifts to a world that desperately needs more light, more love, and more wisdom. Don't underestimate the power of your influence. As Frodo teaches us, you don't need to be big, famous, or powerful to make a transformative difference. You just need to be willing to carry your share of the responsibility for the well-being of the world, one choice at a time, one day at a time, one act of love at a time. The journey may be long, it may be difficult, it may require sacrifices you can't yet imagine, but it will also be filled with discoveries about your own strength, deep connections with fellow travelers, moments of transcendent beauty, and the profound satisfaction that comes from knowing you lived with purpose and contributed to something larger than yourself. The invitation is before you. Your own Mount Doom, whatever form it takes in your life, is waiting. The companions who will walk with you on parts of this journey are already being prepared, even if you haven't met them yet. The strength you need already exists within you, waiting to be discovered through courageous action. So let this moment mark the beginning of a new phase of your life, a phase where you stop waiting for perfect conditions to begin living fully. A phase where you recognize that each day offers opportunities to choose courage, compassion, hope, and love. A phase where you accept both the burdens and the blessings of your own humanity and discover that both can be transformed into wisdom and service. Tolkien's Middle-earth may be fictional, but the wisdom that emerges from it is profoundly real and immediately applicable. Frodo's lessons aren't just nice stories. They are invitations to a way of living that can transform not only your own experience, but also the experience of everyone whose life you touch. If these reflections resonated with something deep within you, share them with others who may benefit from this perspective. Use the comments below to tell us which lesson impacted you the most and how you plan to apply it to your life. And if you're ready for more content that can support your journey of personal growth and purpose discovery, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming explorations in timeless wisdom and personal transformation. Remember, your heroic journey doesn't begin when you feel completely prepared. It begins when you choose to take the first step, even with fear, even with doubts, even without all the answers. As Frodo discovered, the path is made by walking, and you already have everything you need to begin. The adventure of your life is waiting. The world needs what you have to offer, and you are far more capable, courageous, and wise than you imagine. May your journey be blessed with courage, companionship, and the constant discovery that you carry within you a light that can illuminate not only your own path, but also the path of others who will follow in your footsteps. The invitation is extended. The choice is yours. The journey begins now.